everyone's like, oh, you have to get married. That's the end goal. And I was like, that's one of many finish lines in life.
Realize, or puts you in the exact same situation where you thought somebody else was a fool, and you realize, oh, I need to stop thinking about people that way.
I feel that there's this aspect that we have a different responsibility as being single right now, where we have the freedom to do certain things with that responsibility.
That don't go together, brother.
Hey, how big is full?
You need to like trust the process. You need to trust God and trust that He knows when He's going to bring this person to you.
But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved.
Hey guys, my name is Kumi, and this is a Faithful Breed podcast. If you're new here, I'm an entrepreneur, independent artist, and most importantly, Christ follower. And today we're going to be having a fun conversation. It took a lot to get to this point. Started from the bottom, but now we're here. But we're going to have a fun conversation with some buddies of mine who I deem to call the boys. But we'll have a conversation on all things concerning faith, life, and culture. But today with a specific topic focus of singleness, which is why I've assembled the Avengers for today's conversation. But that being said, disclaimer, everything that's said here is opinions and opinionated. So the goal isn't to offend you. You might have a difference of opinion, and that's okay. On top of that, hopefully through this conversation, we bring some insight, some value, something to just turn those gears in your head regarding, the conversation around singleness, being a man in today's society, and things of that nature. So to get things going, how are we doing, boys?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Feeling great.
We're all doing good. All right, so right here to my left, I have Brian. I have Isaac over here. We got Michael, Jacob. We got twins, obviously, as you're not coming to find out slowly. And then Nathan over here. And so we are currently out here in the nice breezy Oklahoma weather. So we're on the road. But that being said, all of us are from different states. So me being from Texas, Nathan here across from me is a Cali native. And then Oklahoma native and Isaac over here. And the rest three, we got Colorado. So we typically always start off our conversations with what's the better state. But we can go on that forever, and I want us to get to the main topic at some point.
Not Texas.
The best country in America.
But they're from the west side, so watch out. West side of Colorado, it's different.
It's a bit different.
A little different.
We don't like the east side.
But I want to go around the room and see, I guess, the space, the outdoors, and say, what is one thing you value about your state of origin? Sounds cool when you say it that way, state of origin. Who wants to speak first?
I can kick it off. I'm in the States. So it's home field advantage, right?
Fair.
That's what they say, but, it's pretty
What's great
flat
about Oklahoma?
overall.
Yeah.
Winds come sweeping down the plains. But no, honestly, Oklahoma is great for, in my opinion, the biggest thing is just the people are amazing. And whenever you go around, you say hi to people, and they're great. I mean, different people have different experiences, but I'd say, in general, that's it. And then also, Oklahomans are a little bit crazy when it comes to weather because we get all the crazy amounts of weather that comes through here. We get crazy rain, like monsoon levels from Texas, and we get tornadoes, and we get thunderstorms from the mountains and everything. Yeah. And we're also we don't have all the crazy landmarks people have at the same time. So it's none of the geographical markings, all of the weather. But the people are great.
People are great. I mean, so funny enough, actually, all of us at just different times, but we've all lived here for at least 4 years. So,
at one point in time or another.
Well, one point or another. So, we can all attest that Oklahoma's got some nice people. Some areas, better than others, obviously, but
and a lot of fictitious landmarks. We have a Turkey Mountain. It's more of a mound. We'll get into that
later.
It's a hill.
We call it a hill. It's a hill. It's
great for hiking. Nothing else otherwise.
On the contrary, so how about our family from Colorado? Let's speak to that as opposed to the hills we have here in the flatlands.
The best part about Colorado is the lack of people. At least Western Colorado. Denver, that's a complete different story.
Tell the viewership where y'all are from specifically in Colorado. What city?
So we're from Delta, Colorado. It's an hour south of Grand Junction, which is kind of the main hub around us. 20 minutes north of Montrose, which is the other main hub.
Nice.
And tons of people come to Telluride, that kind of stuff. Mostly skiing area. So that's where we're from.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Honestly, the lack of people is nice, not having crowded areas. Yeah.
To give context.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Everybody's heard of Denver. Everybody's heard of Vail, maybe, if you're into snowboarding. But nobody's ever heard of Grand Junction. That's because Grand Junction is more of the old Western type of town. That's I guess you can call it a city, but it's not really a
Old
city.
Western in Colorado, that don't go together, brother.
How big is Tulsa? How big is Tulsa?
500,000.
500,000. Okay, Grand Junction is probably almost 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say like whenever I think of like that side of Colorado, I think of that's where all of the Ram pickups are named after.
Really?
Because there's like Telluride, and there's like where's that Tacoma? Is that Tacoma over there?
Avalanche.
Tacoma,
Yeah.
Avalanche. Oh, that's true. Avalanche.
Like,
Okay.
all of these names of trucks are named after.
Silverado.
Like literally, like this is where all the names from trucks come from.
Honestly, those are the best
Fair.
mountain trucks. So, like,
Exactly.
makes sense.
Exactly.
There's also a small town on the I-70 that's named after a gun, rifle.
Remington?
Yeah, Rifle, Colorado.
Rifle, Colorado.
And
Yeah,
all of
so-
the street signs have bullets on them, and it's great.
Somebody likes guns.
Oh yeah, we do love our guns.
Oh, yeah,
out
we
in
do love-
Western
yeah.
Colorado.
100%. I mean, even down here in Texas, you know. You already know if you're in Texas, you better be carrying. You better be packing for real. No, that's good though. So I mean, about the mountain. I mean, mountains are an obvious thing. Give us some more niche. And for you said less people. Mountains are a given. What else can we spot on Colorado that's a special feature? Or
Well, with the mountains, you got the scenery with the drive through the I-70. That's fantastic. You have past Gunnison and Crested Butte. That's beautiful. So, I mean, if you can go with scenery, there's a bit of a difference. Yes.
there you go. He said, let me switch the words up a little bit. Mountains and everything else around the mountains. I'm gonna
Yeah,
let Brian
the
speak
animals
here.
are unique. You know, some of them come from other states and they've migrated in, but then there's others that are, being planted in, and so it's a diverse animal state that you will encounter as you're going to go through. Wildlife is just readily available in multiple different areas that you travel.
And they're not afraid to stare at you directly in the eye as you're driving down the highway.
We have suicidal deer. We have suicidal deer. It's not great.
I think all deer are suicidal, right?
Pretty close, but some states seems like they'll just watch you rather than try and jump out in front of you. And in Colorado, they are good at jumping out in front of you.
So a deer caught out in headlights is a real thing.
Real thing.
Colorado.
Yeah, a lot of cars get toasted every year because of it.
Man, that's
Make sure you have
crazy.
good brakes, man. Make sure you have good brakes.
My favorite thing of Colorado is probably the sunsets. They're very unique because of the way that the clouds that will roll in and the mountains and the rains that can all occur.
Yeah.
Where we live in Delta, Colorado, we're kind of in an anomaly where most of the weather goes out and around us. So you're always looking off in the distance, seeing the mountains getting the rain.
Yeah, and everything.
Seeing the sun shine through the rays of the water.
That's actually really cool.
So it's something that I've always loved about the area is just the sunsets, sunrises. They're all good.
That's awesome.
I sleep through most of the sunrises, but the sunsets I'm usually up there for. So.
My
Don't
favorite
we
parts are the
all?
sunrises,
Don't
but I
we
never
all?
see them because I'm never awake.
Actually, wait, we're all night owls except for you, right?
Yeah, I'm an early bird.
Yeah, I'm
straight
an
up.
early bird too.
Oh, are you really?
I am.
Okay.
I can do it all the time. I just don't.
So
I've woken up at 5 a.m. like the last 3 days, but that's rare.
Gross.
Yeah.
impressive.
Nathan would
prefer not.
He would shift everyone. He'd just
Yeah.
sleep and everyone would fall asleep.
No, that's good. No, that's good though. Man, that's funny. Now we have the Cali native. Nathan, speak to us. The greatness of
Are we
California.
boring you?
Besides the housing market.
It's still too early, man.
He's definitely not a morning person, guys.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Burbank, California, where I lived for about 20 years of my life, and then I moved out to Okie.
Where is Burbank, California? Is that
It's
closer
like-
to San Francisco?
Nah, south,
LA.
half an hour from LA.
LA, okay.
Yeah. So the most,
North, right?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing about living in California, from what I remember, well, do you just want one or multiple?
Well, I mean, list them off. I mean,
So I grew up in the
Social
burbs. So not really a part of LA. I don't think people in LA will call Burbank LA, but it's part of the LA metropolitan district. I think the nicest thing about living there was having the mountains as a backdrop and having the beach about half an hour of a drive away. So you get the best of both
so you
worlds.
get both, yeah. Lucky.
The worst part is everything being expensive.
Is there
Yeah.
any skiing in those mountains or no?
Yeah.
If you wanted to go skiing, you would have to drive about a couple hours east, I think, to Mammoth, which is probably the closest ski resort. The mountains weren't mountains. They were basically just hiking trails I can go on. There's a lot of hiking trails in California because there's a lot of mountains on the ridgeline, but they're not going to hit like 10,000 feet or anything higher than that.
Crazy.
They're still bigger than Oklahoma mountains, though.
They got the Grand Canyon, man.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part, well, there's also the culture. It's a big little melting pot. So I grew up with Vietnamese, Chinese, Mexican, Argentinian, a lot of different
So
cultures.
you had diverse. Same with me in
Yeah.
Dallas. I grew up with different cultures.
I'm pretty
Indian,
sure that's just
Asian.
most metropolitan areas.
Areas
where
in general, though.
A
Yeah.
lot of immigrants moved into where they realized back then, like 1990s, 1980s, 1970s maybe,
Yeah.
it was a cheaper housing market. So
Yeah.
it was a lot easier for them to survive.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I grew up with very diverse culture. There was a lot of food options, which was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Like food here in Tulsa is okay. It's not great.
Mid at best.
Yeah.
Does Oklahoma have good barbecue? What's your opinion on that?
Ooh.
Oklahoma is, well, we didn't, we were about to go to the first barbecue that I would have had in Tulsa last week.
Burn Cove.
Dude, you lived here
Great.
for a year and a half now.
That's great.
Yeah, nobody I know wants to get barbecue. I mean, if you're down, Isaac, I'm down.
I'm trying.
We're in the South.
hey,
There's
we
a
can-
general
we can even
understanding
go
that we have the best barbecue because we're the South.
I did take a trip out to Houston maybe a year and a half ago, and that was some
Grade A. You know,
Grade A,
if
man.
anything, Mexican food obviously Tex-Mex it's a whole different category. So we don't get we can give that the mid status, but we're gonna keep our barbecue at
I will
a
say-
high level,
So
high rating.
From what I hear, there's like Kansas City barbecue, and then there's like Texas barbecue. Oklahoma has both, so we can kind of like mix and
Kind of mix
match,
between
which is
two.
kind of nice. But you have to find the right places. Honestly, there's like 3 places in Tulsa that like they're really good barbecue.
Yeah.
You have to find them. So
No,
they're
100%,
good, though. They're
100%.
really good.
valid. But yeah, the final thing that I would have to say about LA was the nightlife, because it kind of sucks that everything closes here at like 8 p.m.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, unless you want to go downtown to the bars and
Like, I don't want to do that. There
Yeah,
was,
that's the only thing that's open.
I could probably walk around at 2 a.m. and there would still be like decent restaurants are open at that
Wow,
point.
that's crazy.
And here, if I want to get food at like 1 a.m. or midnight, I'd have to go to McDonald's and maybe Cane's and Whataburger, and
Yeah.
those options aren't great. They're
Not the
good.
best. I mean, it's
I've gotten
food.
used to Cane's, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not a fan of Whataburger.
Again, we talk about how everyone here is minus me and Isaac night owls. So I mean, the world can't always work your way, you know. Sometimes you gotta give a little to gain some.
concept of waking up at 8 and getting a food is like wild to me.
With that being said, no, that's so good. I mean, being from Texas, Dallas, you know, the South in general, you know, I will tell you now, I am not a Texas bias. I do not have this huge, like, Texas is the best country. I only use it for the sake of funding conversation and getting people triggered who are elitists when it comes to their states. But it makes a good conversation. But, you know, the South in general, I mean, I've grown up in it, and I just love people. People down here are very, very nice. You know, you get Southern hospitality is a real thing down here in the South. Wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But at the same time, I'm torn because I love to travel. I love traveling. So that's why I can go to a Colorado and always be fascinated by mountains. Or I can go to a California and be like, dude, I don't want to say live here, but I could be here for a solid maybe a week. And then I'm ready to go home. But I mean, you know, I have a deep appreciation for different states, different countries, you know, so. But that's awesome. Now, real quick, before we get into the main conversation, if you were to live in the state that you are in currently, where would you live?
Within the U.S.?
Within the U.S. We're going to keep it domestic.
Okay.
Keep it smaller right now.
I mean, I really liked Wisconsin when I lived there for 2 years.
You did live there, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. The houses were fantastic, and they were relatively cheap, like $400K.
Not
Wait,
bad.
would you go back to Madison or would you go back somewhere else?
Maybe on like, if LA or Burbank is like a metropolitan city within LA, I would say like something close to Madison, but not really, because the downtown scene is great. It's very pleasant to be in, and the bike trails are gorgeous, dude.
I believe it.
Would recommend.
I believe it. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Although I don't know if I would want to live there, because like negative 20 degrees with negative 40-degree wind chill was the worst I
Yeah,
ever
no.
saw. Snow all winter round from maybe October to April.
Man.
And
That's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How many times
cool,
did you
man.
wreck your car?
Technically, I didn't. There was one time where we got like a foot of snow, and like I wasn't used to driving, and I was driving down this massive hill, couldn't control where I was going, did a 180 spin and hit a snow mound. No dents in my car, thank God, but like
Man.
Lucky.
technically a wreck. And then right after I recovered from that accident, somebody else called me and said, "Hey, can you pick me up? I wrecked my car."
Yeah.
most of us, when we have any problems like that, it's like someone calls me and says, "Hey, a tornado's gonna hit my house. Can I stay at your place for a while?" And we're like, "Where's the tornado? Get the lawn chairs."
Oh no! Oh no!
I remember driving out here in Tulsa once. It rained and then froze, so it was ice just across the streets.
Yo.
And so I was driving, slow and cautious, like that. I saw this guy whip straight past me. It's just like, man, these guys are morons.
Yeah, some of them are. Agreed.
Sometimes you want to see somebody get into an accident.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
That's
I'm
not
just
good.
saying.
Let's not. Kids, drive safe when you get behind the wheel. We want less accidents in this world, okay? Not more.
Wait, remember that time we were coming back from Emily's apartment and we saw that wreck happen in front of us? It wasn't ice. The guy hydroplaned.
Oh,
The
yeah.
hydroplane came and hit the other guy like that.
But that was after swing dancing or before swing dancing?
No, after Emily's apartment. It was like Friday night.
Oh, it was a Friday night. That's right.
It was one of our 1 a.m.
like
Yeah.
excursions.
Fun times.
Yeah, excursions where we're just going off. Yeah, yeah, man.
That sounds suspicious if you say
I'm glad
that
we
way.
had you there because it's just being me and Michael.
No, man.
Yeah. I
With
think,
that being said, yeah, go
honestly,
ahead.
it's weird. Like I was saying, like weather in Oklahoma is this weird microcosm because I like to call it the best missionary training weather because you get the worst of all worlds. You get literally the worst of everything.
Yeah.
That's a good
Close.
point. You got hot.
We
You
have
got
super hot,
cold.
super humid, super dry and hot. You get super crazy rain. You get sleet out of nowhere.
True.
You get literally like monsoon level rain, and then
Yeah.
you get a tornado after
Yeah.
that, and then you get humidity where literally clouds will form and disappear in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
It's like
Weather down here, I will say, is very bipolar. And
It
that's
is.
something that, you have to, no state's perfect, no area is perfect. And that's something I would contribute to why I put Texas weather-wise. Because, I wouldn't mind moving to the north. I do like cold more than hot.
yeah.
But at the same time, when cold has to stay longer than it needs to, that's when
It's
it
a
becomes a
little
problem with me.
You gotta have that prep time.
Little old.
right?
I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. I've lived in 4 different states, California, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Colorado.
Yeah.
And from my experience living in different states, everybody in those respective states say, my state has a worse weather. And also, my state has a worse drivers. It's both of those things consistently. Everybody just...
That's fair.
Weather's just crazy in general, man.
Would you agree
Yeah.
Oklahoma does have the worst weather though?
No. I think Colorado was the worst so far.
Okay.
I think there's niche
honestly
reasons,
think
though, for why we say it's bad, but for different reasons why we would say it's bad. Like, for us, bipolar because it's constantly changing in the north, and because,
just
like I say,
cold.
it's just cold longer, right?
It is.
So, bad for different reasons. So, we don't have to hierarchy that.
Yeah.
It's just bad. We'll just leave it at
I
that.
see a
Beautiful day today, though.
Well, I know, but today, outside the wind, this is
Oklahoma
perfect.
wind, man. It's nice. I like it.
No, it's a good breeze.
I
Just
think
not good for
40
the
degree
audio
shifts are the
equipment.
things that get me.
Yeah.
60-degree shifts one day.
All right. Everyone else. What we feeling? Another state you would live in besides?
Oh, gosh.
So, I'd pick another one like Utah or Montana,
Utah.
just because they are very similar
Mountains.
to the way that, of
Colorado
course, the
life
mountains.
is.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yep. The mountains do call to me, and I love the protection that they offer, the sunsets they create. So, yeah,
It's good.
I do love the mountains.
Go
So
ahead.
you're going to 100% cut this out. You wouldn't consider Alabama?
Anchor. For a period of time, I will live anywhere. Anywhere.
All right, we won't get too deep into that.
right,
It's wise, but
Cutting back in.
this won't be good, by the way.
You said any state. You said any state. You didn't say around the world, though, right?
I said state. I said domestic. We're keeping domestic. Michael?
I would think somewhere. I've been thinking somewhere green or fun. We visited our sister in North Carolina, and that was beautiful.
okay.
So
Out on the
maybe
East
somewhere
Coast, okay.
east.
Yeah.
North Carolina, maybe Pennsylvania.
If you want
Okay.
green, I think upper Midwest is probably where you want to be. Lots of trees, a lot of green grass. They get a lot of water because of the rain.
Wait, are you thinking like Wisconsin
There's
again,
not
though?
like good
Well,
weather.
Wisconsin, Illinois, outside of Chicago, because yeah,
Indiana maybe, but
maybe.
I would
But
say honestly though, if you want like the really like luscious, like next to mountains, I think Virginia.
Virginia.
That's what honestly I was thinking.
Virginia's
Virginia for you.
beautiful.
Yeah, well the reason why is because I've been to the West Coast a lot. I had family out there, and I've been to San Jose area at least 15 times and done stuff. And went to Foothills Park and all these kind of crazy places. But the people have driven me to the East Coast. And I would say like there are nice people there. It's
Yeah.
great. It's just like if you just go out and walk around in certain areas, you're like, I just don't want to be in this area. And
Yeah.
it's like the weather, like I would say like California is the opposite of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you come for the people, not the scenery.
Yeah.
California, you go for the scenery, not the people. Unless
Fair.
you know the people already.
Fair. And I
my
hear
opinion.
Virginia Beach is pretty pretty as well.
Yeah.
And people
so
like
it's like
yeah.
I think honestly, like I know people don't like New Jersey, but New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland,
there's-
South
okay.
Carolina, North Carolina, they're highly underrated.
Fair.
They're beautiful. areas.
Fair. Jake, have you
Probably
said
gonna
yours already?
sound. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's probably gonna sound like a dumb question, but can you see like sunsets on the beaches on the East Coast?
No.
No.
Okay.
You see sunrises,
Yeah.
which you won't be up for.
Yeah, you won't be up for. I will be.
Which is why he would be the ideal candidate to live in Virginia. There we go.
I want to have a normal life.
All right, go ahead, Jacob.
So I think the two places that are coming to mind right now is we were out in Pennsylvania visiting our sister.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in Pittsburgh, but it was outside Pittsburgh, maybe like an hour or two.
Yeah.
There were some really nice green rolling hills.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really beautiful area.
Mm.
So I did think about that once. And then I think the other place I really liked, which is a little bit more expensive to live, but Eureka, Arkansas.
Oh, in Arkansas.
That was really
okay,
pretty.
nice.
Really unique city. I really
The
like
Arkansas
that.
people, yeah.
I know it's the touristy town.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, driven through.
Pretty but touristy.
That was okay. Yeah, so Emily got married out there, and that
Yeah.
was crazy seeing that.
Bentonville is okay.
Yeah, it's just nice.
I think the funniest thing about that was like you could easily tell the houses apart from like California's moving into Arkansas,
Yeah.
wiping the foundation, and then building their entire house
Yes.
that was more
Yeah.
expensive than any of the other houses there.
You can see it, yeah.
No, that's
See
funny.
everyone's eyes going dollar signs. They're like, heh, build next to them.
We live in interesting times where Californians are moving out.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. But no, that's good. For me, honestly, it'd be either Florida. Yeah, because I have two friends of mine who I'm with quite often back home who are from Florida.
Hold up. Are we talking about South Florida?
Yeah,
Are we
close
talking
to the
about
beach.
More Miami.
More Miami,
Gross.
Miami, the coastal, areas.
Well, what's gross about it? The humidity.
people, dude?
Fair enough.
But you get sea breeze, so it balances out. I mean, the only thing you have to look out for is the hurricanes, obviously, from time to time season. So every once in a while,
That'd be awful.
But that being said, yeah, if it wasn't that though, it'd probably be like Colorado. Funny enough, yeah, it's that fair balance between coastal or going straight up to the mountains and enjoying that nice
The real
mountain
question,
breeze.
As a Texan, would you ever move to Houston?
Houston of all places. Is that
If
why
we're
you're
talking
trying
cities,
to?
yeah, I would visit Houston. Wouldn't live there.
I think most Texans
Austin,
agree on
Dallas
that.
for sure. Born in Austin, but Dallas has become a home as well. So yeah, definitely those two
I have
places
a lot of
there.
coworkers that say exactly the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Houston is its
interesting.
own.
Great food, though. I hear
Right, great food.
Amazing.
Great food. People there are great. But yeah, I've actually had a couple friends move back from Houston to Dallas. But
to Dallas.
that being said, no, that's good. And so also we have coming up here in the next day and a half, Eclipse.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about
Monday.
that?
Hence why we're all in town.
That's actually why some of these guys are in town because they're actually driving here to
Maybe
see
they-
the eclipse as
I
well.
live here.
You should
And,
name the podcast, the Eclipse Podcast.
The Eclipse Podcast. That's what we'll call this. The Eclipse Podcast.
Having a podcast during the eclipse.
Oh,
you want to
no.
stick around till Monday?
We wouldn't see me if it was on the eclipse.
Kumi's gone.
Kumi's gone. I'm your podcaster speaking. You can't see me, but
It
I'm
would be
here.
fun.
I am from the darkness.
I am one with the darkness.
That would actually be really cool. You'd see him, and then it would just go dark, and then you'd
Then
kind
you
of
see
see
like
this haze.
you see,
Saw
the
10
snakes
minutes of
go
like,
every day.
just talking, and we're back. No, but how y'all feel? Have y'all heard all the rumors about like end time prophecies concerning the eclipse? Like,
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Let's
Jesus
do
barely
it.
He's
played
ready
back.
for the return.
Gotta happen at
that's
some
crazy.
point.
Why not Monday? On a Monday of all days.
I know.
But that being said, no, it's so good. But that being said, let's get into it. Man, we're what? This is gonna be 23 minutes in. But today's conversation I want to get into, because once again, like I said, everyone here, first of all, we got to confirm, is single.
Single as a
Yes.
Pringle.
Single as a Pringle. Some of us are in pursuits. Some of us
Yes.
are just, settling in the singleness right now. And so I want to go around the.
Not moving to Alabama yet.
No.
Not at this time.
Mm-hmm.
We may get into this California story. We'll see. Not California, Alabama story, because I know he mentioned to us.
I think
last
they're
night.
picking on me.
Yeah, slowly. We'll get there.
We would
Older
never
brothers
pick
got
on you,
you.
Brian. We would never pick on you.
Okay.
He is our elder. We must respect him. Everyone just silence.
Thanks.
When he's
the old guy.
Moment of silence.
Moment of silence.
So,
He's old.
Man.
No, I'm just kidding.
Man.
We're all kind of old though, man. So
We're all
that-
getting older. That's it.
I'm sorry. 27 does not count. 26.
It's
Bro.
weird when you look at the college students
Wait,
now
wait.
and realizing we weren't there
You're
that long
26?
ago, but
No,
they seem
27.
so young.
26.
Man, I always forget my age.
27.
I'm going
Yeah.
on 27. I'm 26.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
going on
27.
27.
That
No,
range.
I'm going on 27.
And you're going 20.
When do you turn?
How about we don't
November.
talk about that?
You're the secondary elder. In case
What?
you're
I'm 32, man. I'm 4 years old.
Yeah, I know. But like, I feel like
Almost
25 to 30 is just kind of depressing. And then after 30s, I heard it's just like, oh, I'm in my 30s now. I see
There's like
that
a
I'm living my
plateau.
best life.
This is like a little plateau, you know.
Fair enough.
You know.
He's
But I
working
mean,
out.
but you got to understand, like even 30 years old, you've lived a long life. Like we sometimes, not.
Time's up.
I feel like it's every other day I see in the news. You know, said person has passed away at the young age of this. So it feels
Yeah.
like I look at every day. I'm like, I count my blessings. You know, I'm still alive. I'm 27 years old.
I guess
and,
if you pass away in your 30s, they're not going to say, oh, this person passed at the young age of like 33. It's just like he lived a life.
I mean, if the
You
person
know.
reporting was in their 90s, maybe.
Maybe.
Hey, the Bible says, teach me to number my days, that I may gain a heart of what? Wisdom. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta, even though we're young in the eyes of the life expectancy and whatnot, you know, every day, every year, you know, you're just like, thank God, I'm 1 year wiser, I hope.
Oh,
last
yes, wish.
year.
To be wiser.
Let's go. But no, 100%. So everyone here is single. And so the first question I want to lay to the table, and I really want to build on, is what is your perspective on singleness, the season that you're in? So, I mean, this might ask for a bit of vulnerability, but at the same time, I'm not going to ask you to spill your whole life story. Don't have to. But I mean, what is your perspective on singleness for the audience, obviously, that people who are single? And it looks like we're all, for the most part, very happy, chipper men. I hope that's the same way in private as it is in public right now. But Jake over here sheds a tear.
On Nathan's face.
Am I happy?
But that I think because there's this connotation that when you're single, you're depressed. Every couple you see, you're sitting here like, I mean, obviously we have a desire. I think most of us here to be married, have families, have kids, you know, at some point. But I think there's this mentality that, you know, if I look at a single person, or if it's ever on a podcast, you can't have fun, you can't be happy, you can't go through life with this like joy of like, I'm single. But you know that's not always the case. Obviously, with us, at least I'm assuming. So we'll see what this comes.
I'm just thinking of that one meme where the guy's sitting on his bed, he's crying, but he wipes his tear away with money. That's kind of the stage. It's just like it's so sad. But at least I'm.
But
I
I've got money.
At least I got the
I'm not paying for two people.
No, but I mean, and also as people who fear God and follow God, I think that brings in a whole nother level of like understanding of like what that means, which I want to tap into that too. But first start off on just personally, as a person, how do you feel about your season of singleness?
Well, mine has been blessed.
good.
So I feel like it's needed, and it's one of those things that allows people to mature and grow. And it's something that needs to be a little bit more focused on as being a benefit rather than a negative thing, or something that is lacking. Because I feel like too many people have rushed into the decision to get married and not actively try to enjoy that period of time where God's shaping you to grow into the person that you need to be for your future spouse.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I found honestly, whenever I go through, like, talk to friends, you start trying to figure out life, you're trying to start doing things you want to do and understanding, like, what you actually enjoy as a person. Everyone's like, oh, you have to get married. That's the end goal. And I was like, that's one of many finish lines in life. But it also starts a new journey. That's basically what it does. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you have to get to the end, achievement oriented, which I think honestly, especially in the business world, it's very achievement oriented. You have to get this task and this task and this task and this task. But honestly, that's not, I don't think that's how we were made to live. I think we were made to live among friends and hang out and spend the life. And I heard someone say this, like, some people take they take snippets, like photos of times, and then some people just record everything.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that is though? Why do you think we have this very like you said, business oriented mindset when it comes to marriage, where it's like that's the end goal is becoming married, being a father, being a husband. Why do you think versus like, you know, marriage is just a part of my journey and my walk, right? How do you think? Is it just the American culture? Is it just?
I think it's part of it, but honestly, I think the happiest people we know in our lives are married, and we want that. in America at least, we have this idea we want the best only. That's all we want. There's no in between of like slightly less happy than someone else. So it's like, in the whole American thing, pursuit of happiness. Like, but you have to ask, what is that? Why is marriage good? Why is that relationship you see good? What did they do before that? Like, the more I've gotten into my 20s, I've started to become friends with my parents, like actual friends. There's that period where you know your parents, but you're not really friends with them. And I'm starting to become friends and get lunch with my dad, stuff like that. And as my life goes through and I make mistakes and I tell them about things, they start telling me about those mistakes they made, and I start learning things about them that I never knew. And as I get to know these things, I'm like, oh, my parents, there was a time before my parents had kids and they went and did crazy things. They just never showed us. And it's because we were their focus.
Yeah.
And I'm like recognizing, oh, when I have kids, they'll be my focus. So like Brian was saying, it's a blessing that I have so much freedom to, help people out and hang out and play board games all the time and talk to people and play games and stuff like that. Like, that is a blessing that I need to savor and also use to bless others, how God would like us to bless others.
It's good.
So, in money or time, whatever, because all of that, that's where we're supposed to be. Kids are just another stage in life.
That's good. It's good. It's good. Michael, sorry, nickname. Came up. Had a conversation on that yesterday.
Yeah, just everything in its time. I mean, really, like, it's a tough balance between knowing when you start, like, searching or just let it happen. I remember one time in college, there was this guy who was there like, yeah, I wasn't even searching for or wanting a girlfriend, and then all of a sudden God placed one in my lap. Just let her follow this guy, and she's there. And it was kind of weird. It was like, well, I guess maybe. But yeah, just trying to find that balance.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Edit to his face that he just made 5 seconds ago. He's like,
What?
That's never the same comment I was thinking of.
What are you thinking about? What's on your mind? Okay, Jacob, pick up where Michael
Pick up
left
so we
off.
can
Yes.
restart the cut. All right.
These are not gonna cut, so we don't even have to keep saying cuts. It's the conversation.
Cut.
Stop it.
We like to bring attention to the awkwardness of everything
that way,
all the time.
that way when you don't miss something in editing, just this block, go.
I'm gonna be watching this whole thing from start to finish, so you can say cut as much as you want. I won't know
I
until.
want you to record yourself watching the edit and how much you laugh.
Oh, I'm gonna laugh. There's always a given.
I just want that recording.
just that
you
one?
laughing,
Oh, me laughing at the
editing
videos?
at like 4 hours. Just
We'll
post
see.
that,
We'll
like,
see.
the joy of watching your friends
you
be
can't-
doofuses.
But you can't hear anything that was being talked about, so you just hear him just giggling.
Just giggling.
Oh, you do not sound like that. You do not sound like that.
Awkward. Oh my god.
It's more the that.
All right, go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
So yeah, the period of singleness, honestly, is what you guys are all saying. Yeah, it's just all in due time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the issue comes to the fact that I'm rather lazy. And so
At least he's honest.
Because there's definitely girls of interest. That's
course,
just like,
of course,
hey,
of course.
they're a really cool person. I think I can mesh well with them.
Yeah.
But it's just, do I want to commit to something like that?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just being young and stupid, but it's kind of just like, I'll just see how it goes. We'll just be friends. And then she starts dating another guy. It's just like, oops. So, it's kind of
You're
just
too late, buddy.
Missed opportunity.
yeah, exactly. Missed opportunity. And I think definitely as I get older, I'm 25 now, coming on 26 in May.
Yeah.
Not to call anybody out, but I've seen people get older, and it's just like, oh, they really haven't been looking or trying to find somebody. And it's like,
Yeah.
even though it may not be the best thing in the world, it's not bad to look. So don't jump into
good.
it. That's fine.
That's good.
But definitely make sure you're keeping yourself open, available, and attempting.
I will
good.
say, just you guys being in Colorado, especially in the city you are, the size, honestly, I've noticed like the amount of effort you guys have to put in to talk to any girl is way higher than anyone
Of
in the
course.
city.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because you literally
Yeah.
have to leave the state.
So especially where we're at, it's very much so a retirement community.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Anyway, so
100%.
80% of the people are old, and the other 20% are actually married or between 30 and 50. So it's kind of just like,
Hey,
there's nobody young.
30 and 50. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every road trip is an opportunity.
Why do you think I keep coming out here?
Yo, that's crazy.
I'm not just here to see family.
The one is somewhere here.
Someone's
I
over
feel
here
it.
choking
I
up.
feel it. The force. The force, the girl, the woman force. I feel it. No, that's so.
The
that's
woman
so
force.
crazy.
That's a new coin phrase. I've never heard that one
Oh
before.
no! Oh
The
no!
woman force.
Is that a Dallas thing?
It won't remain a thing. Don't worry. After this podcast, it will definitely
We'll
die.
just bleep it out.
Scrubbed. This has been scrubbed.
All right, Nathan, lay down on us.
So I think from personal experience, like moving to a new state where you don't know anybody, is that perpetual feeling of feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if you guys experience that as much, but like you don't know anybody in a new state, and you have that first couple months where it's just like, well, I could go out and meet people, or I could just chill here and play video games with some friends, Discord, nights of gaming. It's fun, but it's probably not healthy. And I think there comes a certain point where you just kind of have to accept feeling lonely, and that's fine. It's not great because nobody likes feeling lonely, but it's that acceptance of getting through that feeling and also loving yourself. It's a cliche saying, but it's something that you need to do. I remember back in college, I told myself, like, I don't think if I could clone myself, I would go on a date with myself. It's a weird thing to say, I know, but like at the same time, like, would you take yourself out on a date? And like back in college, I'd probably say no. Like, I don't think I would be able to stand myself. But I think nowadays, I would take myself on a date. I'm fun.
I'm fun. I can have fun. And I am a good person. You just need to give me a chance.
So we were going to the masquerade ball for the honor students.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things. You had to pair up with an honor student so you could go, right?
Yeah.
And
How
we had
long
a
ago
large.
was this?
What?
How long ago was this?
2018,
18?
Okay.
yeah, 2018, 2019. So it was one of those things of one of the honors girls, which we were all in a tight group. Kumi was there, Nathan was there. And one of the girls was just like, yeah, I really wanted to have a fun time. So I decided I'd invite Kumi. It was just like, you got Michael and I, like, you know, we're trying to get the whole group to go anyway. She's just like, but you guys just aren't fun. It was just like, oh.
Gotcha.
So
Remember
it was
the
one of those
word.
kind of like, as
Yeah,
you're saying,
yeah.
am I reasonable enough to take out on a date? And it's just like, oh,
So there's
we need to work
a
on
level of
that.
introspection, which is good because this actually I want to build on that point that you started making there. It's like actually before we get there, because that's one we can go on a long tangent on. I want to speak more to we've spoken to like our personal natural experiences of being single. What do you think God has you doing in this period of singleness? Like what is your perspective applying your faith to the idea of being single? Because there's one aspect of like, okay, I'm single right now. It's a blessing. It's wonderful. But now, like, what do I do with the time that God has me single? Like, where do I apply my efforts and my time, my focus into doing? Maybe it's personal development. Maybe it's studying and seeking God more and understanding who He is. Or maybe it's devoting to like maybe hobbies and aspirations and purposeful things that He's calling you to. So, like, what are things that you feel like God is using your season of singleness to do for you? If that makes sense.
I think God is keeping me away from women.
Good answer.
Well,
I am a threat.
He's protecting all his daughters.
Now expound upon that.
That's not completely true.
No, yeah.
I think what He's doing with me in this time is just a period of growth. It's perpetual growth. I think a lot of times I am prideful, which is very normal among men. I think it's
all humanity.
Prideful.
We'll kick you later.
Pride
but
of life. That's what the Bible speaks of. Yeah, it's true.
yeah, it's a matter of seeing somebody fall and then think, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Why would you ever like do a 2-lane turn or like 2-lane, what is it called? Not a U-turn.
A U-turn?
But basically
Cutting
just
across
cut
both
multiple
lanes.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cross lanes?
Cutting
And then like
Swerve.
they might get into an accident and then you see them and it's just like, that idiots, what are you doing? And then like a couple of days later you end up finding yourself in the exact same situation and you might have somebody else look at you and think you're an idiot, and it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
And it's just multiple times of that happening in my life where God just makes you realize or puts you in the exact same situation where you thought somebody else was a fool.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, I need to stop thinking about people that way.
Yeah.
You gotta start
And-
giving people grace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think God has perpetually put myself in that situation.
Awesome.
Thanks, Isaac.
No, that's good. Anyone else take a mic and speak on that?
Yeah, honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot. Where like talking about it's like, okay, so someone told me, putting this together, someone told me like find the top 3 things that you would find in a partner,
Yeah.
and then switch it to, okay, what does it look like in a guy? Are you any of these 3 things? And I was like, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I was looking at it, I was going, yeah, I'm none of those things.
Solid jawline, piercing eyes.
I don't think any of those are what I'm talking about. I'm talking about character traits.
Is that
right?
what you're looking for, Nathan?
We're establishing what Nathan's.
All right.
So I got a jawline. Okay. What else? No, just kidding.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
going.
So
Then.
it's like, and I think the ones I was going to was consistent, caring,
Good.
and I think the biggest one for me was like loves God. And I was like,
course.
am I these 3 things? And I'm like, honestly, all 3 of them I have failings, like big failings in, and I need to work on. And God's from there. I was like, I prayed to God. I was like, never promote me beyond what I deserve, which I think is a big thing that kind of checked my mindset of saying, God will send me where I need to be, not where I want to be all the time.
Good.
But I have to accept that. I have to make do with what He's given me.
Yeah.
So, because I think He knows better than I do already.
And I think that speaks to the sovereignty of God. And I think that's something that in this season of singleness, like, I mean, what I'm hearing so far, I'm still waiting for a little voice to speak up on that too, but is like, you need to like trust the process. You need to trust God and trust that He knows when He's going to bring this person to you. Because I think we find a lot of people in our day and age really anxious due to societal pressures, due to, you know, hey, my buddy's married and I'm sitting here, you know, you don't know how many conversations I have with one of my buddies who, you know, it's always like, man, God, I just want you to bring me the one. But then he goes through the process of like trying to, you know, meet people. And then he comes back like, God, why'd you put me through that?
Why are you making me learn lessons with people? This hurts.
But it's a process. And every time, you know, we come back and we reconvene. And as much as like, sometimes he's like, God, why? I tell him like God did it for a reason. He's building you. He's building your character. He's building your understanding. And the fact that you come back to God is a good thing because many people can use that as an excuse to be like, okay, you know what, this whole God thing, I'm gonna push out to the side. So just want to expand upon that because that was a good point you made.
Yeah, honestly, I want to go back to that. It's like the one thing the reason why I came to the point where I was asking God, like, what are the things that I would like?
Yeah.
And what are the things that you want me to have? Is I think I came to the understanding, especially during college, that success for me is not what the world looks like. It's like everyone's like, oh, have a great job, be a millionaire, do all these things, retire early, have a wife that's beautiful, a bunch of kids maybe, or go out and party all the time.
Have a yacht.
You know, be with all the cool people, that kind of thing. And it's like, this is another thing interesting. It's like, you know, recognize like, hey, I do want to be fun to be around. I want these things, but also in the end, that's just fun. That's not purpose.
Yeah.
And I think we need to balance those two.
It's good.
And it's like, as a young man, I feel like especially in such an excessive society as the US, we can get really caught up on just doing a bunch of stuff that really is just busyness. It's not really joyful. It's not really, and it's not helpful to you as a person.
Yeah.
And just bringing it back and going, God, put me where I need to be. And just following that. And I know for like dating, that's terrifying to an extent. Because he's like, oh, go date this one. And you're like, but I don't want it.
Well, worse, I know this isn't going to work out well. It's like, but I have lessons to teach you.
Exactly. And you're like,
that's harsh.
Like,
that's hard.
What is this?
Yeah.
And I think there's been many times God's walked me into a situation and he said, this is what I don't want for you.
Yeah.
I think that I only had that opportunity because I'm single in my mid-20s and I have, honestly, as a lot of guys do, I have a certain amount of lack of safety, like awareness. I go into places that probably are not the safest areas and go, how did I get here? So
I probably shouldn't say what I'm thinking out loud.
Go ahead.
Do it.
go for it. We can always cut it.
Wait, do you?
How did I end up in this trunk? That was weird.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Meeting a girl for the first time, bring a gun. Can never trust women.
Who hurt you, bro? That's my first question. Who hurt you?
I mean, usually the advice is given to the woman that way, not necessarily the man. But
Hey, he's
fair
a
enough.
soft man. He's a soft
A good relationship is when both sides bring heat.
Well, that's a good.
That's a different kind of hot, I guess.
That's a different kind of.
I don't know if you're trying to
Honestly,
make
I
this
kinda like
awkward
it.
or like,
Oh man, kind of attracted, you know.
Probably a 9.
So
An armed society is a polite society.
No, honestly, for women, they need a 380. Yeah. For men, I'd suggest 9mm.
9mm.
45 is great to shoot, but it's not practical to carry.
Fair. So back to singleness. But no, and so like everyone's been saying, it's like obviously making sure you're the right person. I wanted Michael, Jacob, and Brian to speak more onto that whole spiritual element of this
Wait,
singleness
what
and
element?
Spiritual.
the spiritual element
Oh.
of being of single and what God's doing ideally in the season for you.
So maybe this isn't quite right, but
Yeah.
one thing I did hear, and I thought it was really good, especially for men, you really want to date up, marry up in faith and spirit and kind of in spiritual maturity.
Okay. Hey, define that. Explain that. So for the audience, I might
Yeah.
think like
so
that.
kind of just in the sense of, hey, you have a good faith, strong faith with God, all
Yeah.
that, great.
Yeah.
But you really need to find a woman who is more spiritual than you, because women will often drag men up to the level that they're at. Men will come to, they'll try to, how to put it?
So if you married someone who's of less faith
Correct.
than you,
Yeah.
then
That
you're
drags-
more than
as a
likely
man,
to be
it'll drag
dragging
you
you
down
down
to
because
being
it'll
lazy.
be okay.
Whereas if you have a
Because
woman
we're
that's
naturally
of more
apathetic.
faith,
Yeah.
spiritual maturity, then they'll pull you up to their level.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, but I will say, what element of that do you think has the guy's responsibility to be a leader of the household?
Oh no, for sure,
I'm just
100%.
wondering,
The man needs to
that
be the
concept.
leader,
Yeah.
but it's very much so. As one of my grandmothers put it, was your father's the head of the house, but I'm the neck. I make it turn this way and that. It keeps everything in line.
That's honestly a good line.
Yeah,
It supports the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supporting cast. No, that's good.
Redirects
So-
it if
and
it needs to be.
A good woman
Good
isn't
lumber. Yeah.
a good woman isn't one that just follows and is passive. A good woman is that one that shows the head what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Not taking the role, but one that will encourage and support them to do the right thing.
Yeah. And there's leadership even in that, like their role. Like it's a role that I think in our society we sometimes downplay as it's more submissive or lesser role.
Submission isn't passive.
Yeah.
Hey, preach. and that's what I want to make sure the audience gets is like, just because we have different roles and functions doesn't make any other role lesser than
Yeah, I
the
was
next,
honestly,
right?
I was coming back before. I was like talking to God, right, like 4 or 5 years ago, say like where I'm supposed to be. And as I've gone through that last 4 or 5 years, I think the biggest thing I've learned about is what servant leadership looks like. Because as you were talking about, like it shows us where we need to go, but we're supposed to serve those people we lead.
Yeah.
It's not I'm the man of the house, so you do what I say. It's I'm the man of the house, and we want to come together to build something. So let's go build this.
Yeah.
It's a leadership to going to a better place instead of just saying, come with me.
So good.
It's not the same thing. It's
And
a mutual thing.
funny thing about that is that Jesus models that.
Exactly.
Jesus was God.
Yes.
He's the head honcho. Even to this day, we still being like, Lord, lead us.
Tell us what to do.
But yet, when he came,
Or take responsibility.
yeah, tell us what to do.
Exactly.
Take responsibility. But he also showed us, for those who follow him, that we're called to serve one another. Right, wash the disciples' feet. Like you have examples. So this balance of, again, when we talk about the roles of males and females in relationships, which we'll dive deeper into. I still want to keep the singleness focus right now, but both roles are important. Both roles have leadership elements in their own respects, right? And both are needed because it's a kind of a divine connection with the heart of God when it comes to servant. And then the leadership and the authority of God,
And
right?
I heard someone say this, and actually I've had this quoted at my job a few times, and they said, just because you're not in a position of leadership doesn't mean you can't lead yourself.
That's good. So, yeah.
On that note, there's a book that I read, Leader with No Title.
Yeah.
And it was very much on that aspect is you even in the lowest positions, you can still lead without having the title.
It's good. So good.
Yeah, and you can mentorship people, you can talk to people, you can actually pour into other people's lives, and that I think is a part of Singleness because we're supposed to be in community.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be around these people. We're supposed to randomly call people out of the blue and just say, "How's your day going? What are you up to? You want to go hang out?" And that's the community I think in the U.S. we have a big problem with. We need to build that, and it's because we haven't been paying attention to it, and I want to pay attention to it. So, that's a cool thing.
As far as calling people out of the blue, I feel so bad every time you call, and I'm busy at the gym or something. It's just like, sorry, dude.
well, I would just say
It
that-
happens.
Yeah, it's true, but it's this is the one thing I had that guilt every once in a while, and I just got pushed to you dude,
Give him a call.
I heard this from a Christian comedian, Michael Jr. He says, I want to give people the opportunity to laugh. I want to give you the opportunity to connect.
Send them memes.
Yeah, it works too. It works too.
Enjoy my IG chat.
Yeah, basically.
But it's
But it's
traumatizes
like-
the life. That's what you do.
Exactly. But I mean, it's Nathan's specialty.
Yeah.
No.
No,
What he contributes.
But I think that's the big thing is like, if you ever feel guilty because someone else tried to connect with you, I think it's the wrong emotion to have, in my opinion. Okay? I would say honestly, the right opinions go, how can I make time to connect with that person? Because I never wanted you to feel guilty.
Yeah, no,
I do.
That's true. That's true. I say that. Yeah.
Nathan, that's why I don't call you as much. Okay. I just hang out with you in person. No.
Fair.
But no,
Fair.
I was just like, it's an opportunity. And I think it really changed my mindset because originally I was doing it out of guilt.
Yeah.
And now I do it out of 100% like, I just want to love on these people. I just want to take care of them because guess what? They're my friends. And if I want to have a good connection with my friends, I'm going to interact with them.
Fair.
That's how it works. And I was like, it's not pride. It's not anything. It's just love. And that's what, in my opinion, God's called us to. And in my 25 years of experience, that's the best I got for an answer right now. I was like, just go love them. Have a good time.
It's adequate. Michael, how about you? God and your purpose, God-given purpose in singleness right now.
Purpose of singleness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, for me, trying to figure out where I'm at in life with respect to occupation, hobbies, and especially spiritually with studying the Bible and knowing more about God and the fear of the Lord. That's perhaps where he's working on me mostly right now, is actually getting a good foundation where I don't have, where I could actually lead a family spiritually instead of winging it or just hoping things will fall into place.
Yeah, I got it.
So I think exactly.
And what would you describe the fear of the Lord to be?
Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Just quote Bible verses already. Let's go.
Look, he just hit you with straight scripture. Okay, it's beginning of wisdom, but you have not defined what is the fear of the Lord. In a sense, it's beginning of wisdom. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
But what is it?
Well, what is it?
Well,
In your opinion, okay, of course. What you
Cause and
understand.
effect. We want to know what the actual.
exactly. The fear of the Lord, in many respects, people would translate it as respect of the Lord, right?
Yeah.
But in the simplest terms, it's like truly fearing him for how dangerous of a God he is. Like Nadab and Abihu were consumed by fire because they offered strange fire before the Lord. They didn't do things perfectly to the T, so they learned how dangerous he was, of course. So it's having that, true fear that God can,
At any point,
take you at any point.
you're gone.
He punishes sin, but also rewards righteousness, of course, and most definitely above all else. But perhaps even the fear of the Lord, kind of like with when Judah was talking to Joseph, he was saying, how can I go back to my father if I don't have Benjamin, for fear of what would become of him, what would happen to my father. So he had a fear of love. He didn't want to hurt his father. He didn't want to disappoint him. He didn't want to rob him of his son again. So the fear of the Lord is also loving God and doing what God wants you to do, being happy in your time of singleness, being happy and complacent in your job, in your wages, solely because you love God and don't want to disappoint him.
That's good. I love how you just made that like multi-layer, because I mean, again, most people see the fear of God as but I love how I think that should be foundational, is that reverence that you're speaking of, right? And when we talk about our singleness and how God is trying to like grow us in that area, I think that's where a lot of it starts. One, in our faith walk in general, but also when we talk about when we are leading someone else. If we're single with the aspirations to lead somebody else, we need to know who our headship is, right? And there has to be a respect and a reverence, because I feel like personally, in my opinion, nation as a whole, right, secularly speaking, but also even in the Christendom, faith, Jewish,
Go ahead. Before we go to the broad, I want to go specific.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was talking about how, it's respect, all of these things, like the fear of the Lord. And it's interesting how in the Bible, there's so many times when a messenger shows up and they freak out like that, and they say, do not be afraid. So it's not a fear in the sense of, oh, you're going to kill me right now.
Yeah.
It's a fight or flight response. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's a understanding, like you said, respect.
Reverence.
That's reverence, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And I think it's good context of saying, in those times of like pure emotion, when you're like, oh, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That's not what God wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted you to calm down and have reverence for who He is and honor Him. And I think there's in our culture, at least, we're like, oh yeah, you're like, oh no, he's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Like, no.
But I think there can still be a sorry. Now
No,
I'm
no.
maybe starting to another thought. But I think there can still be a surprise.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like because
surprise is fine.
if an angel Gabriel showed up right behind me and be like, oh, whoa, okay, I think I would still be kind of like shocked, surprise wise. I mean, obviously, I think there's that element of like fear in the sense of like where like, oh wow, the glory of God is just too much to take in.
Yeah.
My emotions can't process what's going on right now.
But it's like you were saying, it's like that. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You have a. I don't want to say responsibility, but you have an option to respond a certain way.
Yeah.
And I don't think He wants to respond in like crazy fear. He wants us to respond in, oh, that's the glory of God.
God,
I'm
yeah,
overwhelmed.
yeah.
God help me.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Not, oh my
100%.
gosh, I'm gonna go run.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of
Like terror. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
So continuing on to the broad topic.
No, you're good. But
Yeah.
to the broader picture I was trying to paint here is like I feel like a lot of our society, like secularly, of course, because we're in a nation that's kind of when it comes to God in general, it's not. It's default anymore, like it used to be. But that being said, even within Christendom, Judeo-Christian values, and all that kind of stuff, it tends to be sometimes it can be lost in translation what the fear of God really is, because something I've spoken about with one of my guests on an earlier podcast was the more you understand who God is, right, the closer your relationship is with Him, right, and part of that, I think that all starts with a healthy fear of the Lord, right, and understanding what that means. Because when you have that understanding, you understand how to walk out your faith in a way that reveres God, holds Him up, and exalts Him. But understand that same God still desires to have a relationship with you, and you have that, like you were speaking to, that love for Him, right? He's not just the guy in the sky who's just directing all things, and we have two guys sitting up with better posture.
A very big user manual.
But yeah, but that being said, that's so good. And then tying that back to, again, singleness, when we talk about how God's developing you, like having that fear of the Lord, I think is just foundational because it's going to help your personal spiritual walk. And if it's going to help that, it's definitely going to help you in the process of when you're looking right for that person. I mean, the perfect analogy you brought up, you want to find people who have that same fear of the Lord, right? It's because they're going to challenge you. They're going to make sure that the headship that's over you as the woman, right, to someday be your wife, is going to keep you in check with saying, hey, are you doing what you're doing because you fear the Lord? Yeah. Fear the Lord, right? With obviously the definitions we've used, not just fear, because I know one word's not enough to sometimes describe everything that really entails. But that being said, that's good. That's really good. I want to credit you for that. That was good. That's a good point. Brian, Elder Brian.
Yes.
Brian.
Lay it down on us.
So, it's a kind of a benefit to have everyone else go a little bit first, but also a detriment because everyone's already talked about everything almost near fully on the subject. But it is something that was great that I got to find a piece where it's like, okay, I could add this to it. Yeah. I feel that there's this aspect that we have a different responsibility as being single right now where we have the freedom to do certain things with that responsibility because there's a different level of responsibility once you do get married, once you do have kids.
That's good.
And it's something that, we often either take for granted or just don't quite realize until we see those moments in time when we're interacting with people. Yeah. And when we interact with those people, we see that like, oh, okay, God, you're teaching me this lesson through this. To make me understand and learn, or from our mistakes, realize, okay, I could have done that better. And there's maybe a little bit of an aspect where if we were married or had kids, with that choice that we made, it would have been more detrimental or more difficult to try and resolve, versus learning that lesson now as a single is something that is a little bit more refinement, just between kind of you and God, or you and that situation. So it just gives you different opportunities at different times. And I think that it helps build you into a better person for handling those things later.
No, that's good. That's so good, man. And that was literally a punctuation mark. That God is teaching us things in the process of being single. And that's the beautiful thing to hear, because like I said, I think in the learning, that's where we're finding our joy and our sustenance and our contentment. Learn to be content in all things. Part of that is just being able to submit to the process and say like, hey, there's an element of, I want a wife, Lord. I want you to bring my wife. So I feel like almost every podcast, no, not everyone so far up until this point, but it has been someone being like, hey, she's coming, she's on the way.
Yep.
So like, obviously there's desire, and what Jacob was speaking to earlier, which we're going to start going down that route here to kind of close up this podcast session on it, but is like, you have to obviously have that desire to, look for that person. But sometimes being in the process of saying, Lord, I'm ready when you are, but I'm going to still make the most of the season that I'm in, having that balance is where you really find growth, right? Because you're at that point building sustenance off him alone, right? Because there's a lot of marriages where I personally feel this way, again, my opinion, where I see the husband and wife trying to feed off each other, right? As a continual source. And then when one's depleted and they can't pull from that anymore, there's arguments, there's debating, there's crumbling, right? And their individual, self-worth and self-identity and where they identify themselves in, right? Which should be a God for obviously those who have religious perspective, but if not, it's just even tougher, right? They don't have. And so I think that when you can get to a place where I think a lot of us are at, obviously some in different levels and stages, right? But where we can all at least say we are content in our singleness right now, but we're doing our best to really make the most of the season that we're in hopes that at the right time, God, who we trust him. We have to trust in God. That's the other aspect too, is that he has the person in store for me. But now we're going to pivot the conversation to what it takes to put ourselves in that position. that person comes. Because I think that's another element too. There's some people who will believe in the one. Who here believes in the one? Are we all the one believers? I'm not.
I'm
definitely
I
not.
don't see myself as a 50-50, but I think it's a cop-out, so I'm not going to say it. I can explain it.
The one with, I guess, you have to explain. I can understand where you're coming from too.
Yeah, I guess if you want me, I can explain it so we can get a
Yeah,
transition.
let's get going. Start us off so we can...
I think the whole hopeless romantic style is really, I would say, attractive because you're like, oh, you want the one. You want to...
So, soulmate.
You want to find the soulmate, the person you click with perfectly. But in all honesty, in everything I've ever looked up, I've come to the conclusion that's an ideal, not a reality. And it's sort of like, okay, there is the one. Guess what? That's when you're married. That's what that is.
Okay. See?
When
Which
you
is why it
marry
makes sense,
someone, that is the one. You don't, and I would say some people are like, oh, what happened? Something wrong was wrong. The point is you work so things don't go wrong in that way. Or you're humble enough that when things do go wrong, you can see where you're supposed to go. And hopefully you marry someone that is also humble enough to come to the table and talk to you about it. And I think that's a recognition that the classic princess marries the prince and goes off and lives happily after ever, I want to say it, that was incorrectly said, doesn't exist. It's an ideal. It's a fantasy for a reason. And that's why I think some people say, oh, you end a journey, it's all over. No. Every single one of the stories, they said live happily ever after, just means they started a new journey. That's all it means. I think that's the one thing, recognition, like with my parents, they've had problems. I think every person who's ever been married to anyone has had problems with their spouse at some point. So why would I expect any different? But also, what is the benefits? It's living real life. That's what it really is. So I would say, like, you can date a lot of different people, find people that are good for you. When you marry one, that's when you're committed. So that's the big difference in my head. So.
Doesn't matter what they are on the hot scale, they jump to a 10.
Yep.
They better be the one. That's basically what I'm hearing.
You buy that coffee mug and it says, my wife's the hottest in the world.
Yep.
No, that's so good. Putting yourself in the position. Oh, yeah, we got some mad wind right now. Tornadoes hitting right now. Putting yourself in the position, obviously, when we were talking about, God obviously is going to bring the one to us. And I think this can sometimes be to our detriment as single people. It's like we're like, God, we're waiting, we're patient. We know she's coming, but really never make an effort to like put ourselves out there, right? But at the same time, I'm going to keep using this verse because it's one of my favorite verses. In Ecclesiastes 7 says, he who fears God avoids every extreme. You want to find the balance in all things, Right. You don't want to be the desperate guy on Bumble. I'm not trying to call out these individual platforms as a like trying to diminish them, but on a Tinder or
Wait.
like you know.
Who all here's tried a dating app?
I've tried it.
Yeah.
1, 2.
Okay.
You're not
me.
in an area where you can try it.
There are no people.
No, we just got the 70-year-old trying it. You know?
Burn.
Then you want specifically for Delta. Just isolate the population. But that's the point is like, you know, you don't want to be someone who's super overly desperate because I don't think you need to be. But I think there's a healthy amount of, with respect to the time and what you're committing to it. Because I think, I remember having a conversation with a good family friend of mine at my church, but actually a couple. They actually met through online dating, got married as a result of online dating. So it does happen, obviously. But, you know, what they would tell me is like, first of all, every dating app is the same. No matter what you hop on, right? Obviously. You know, same
some are a
pool.
little bit more Christian-based than
I mean,
others.
obviously, okay, faith, if you're breaking it down for like, you know, faith or just, you know, obviously other things, but we're not getting into that stuff.
Calling Grindr and Bumble the same is a huge stretch, my guy.
Let's not go there.
As far as what I'm talking about, the people who are tentatively on, because obviously if you're online dating, you're probably going to be hopping around different types of platforms to test your luck, right? But, you know, the pools tend to be the same. But that being said, you know, that what they did in that season of life, and they were older, a lot older too when they got married, more like in their upper 30s when they met and got married in that whole process. Like, the biggest thing that I took away from them was like they were intentional.
Yeah.
They were intentional, right? Perspective to what their career aspirations were, the life aspirations were. Like, they were intentional about dating, and that was like, okay, that's a nugget. I think when we talk about God bringing us, you know, our wife or the specific person like He has for us, there's an aspect of patience, which we've spoken to in our singleness, like, you know, being content, focusing on God, focusing on a relationship with Him, so that whenever that person does come, you know, we're not necessarily always fully 100% ready, but we're prepared, right? On the flip side, though, at the same time, that doesn't mean be idle and do nothing, right? it means, you know, when I'm ready to put myself in spaces, right, I'm ready to be intentional about it. Because I think there's also a perspective, too, between someone who has a very secular perspective of dating and someone who has a very, I'm going to use Christian for the sake of the word, right? Christian or a religious perspective push on dating, right? Christ-centered focused way of dating, where you're looking with the intention to get married, right? Yeah. You want to have a wife, you want to have a family. So every relationship that you're forming has a purpose, right? The reason I'm getting to know you is not just for
having fun.
Yeah, for having cloud, right? Or the cloud, or makes me feel good. It's like, I want to intentionally get to know you. And that's going to be the first date focus. Now, story time. Here we go, guys. You remember the story well. There was a girl in college.
There's a few girls for you.
There's a few. There's actually a couple.
First, and then we can transition to that because we were talking about. I would say one of the things I always think about whenever we think about like preparing for something. In the Bible, it talks about the farmers where there was no rain, right, for like 7 years. Yeah. And then one of the prophets, he prays for there to be rain. And the guy's like, "What do we do?" He said, "You prepare for the rain." And I think that's a very similar thing with dating.
That's good.
It's like you do prepare to date, but you don't specifically prepare only to date. You prepare just being a better person.
Yeah.
And learning how to talk to those people and learning how to talk to, when I say those people, women.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, just becoming a better person is the goal.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Nathan was pointing out.
Yeah.
Would you take yourself on a date?
Exactly. And we were coming back to that. But
are you marriageable material?
Exactly. But it's like, I take that for almost, I think it's a word. It's a word.
Marriageable?
As long as I got those guys on my side, I'm pretty good.
We'll have to contact Webster after this podcast.
We'll figure it out. We're not dictionaries, apparently.
We'll contact Webster and make sure we put marriageable in the dictionary just for
I mean, yeet's in the dictionary, so marriageable should
Yeet is in the dictionary? Ain't no way.
Yep. Not the Urban Dictionary, the dictionary.
Sorry, where were you at, Isaac?
Sorry, I was just saying, like, and anything's like you were saying, prepare, and preparation sometimes takes a lot of work. Sometimes it takes no work at all, almost.
Yeah.
But as you said, intentional. Yeah. And honestly, the big one for me is recently has been communicated.
It's good.
Actually communicate it.
Yeah.
And tell the other person when you're not getting their intention.
Yes.
That's a big one.
That's a big one too. That is huge.
So it's like, and especially if they're a good person, they will try and communicate better their intentions to you.
Yeah.
But I think other people who are truly good people who really want good things for you, they will check themselves and go, hey, he's not hearing what I'm saying. He's trying to be helpful. Okay, I'm going to rework this out. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a better explanation. and you'll be like, oh, thank you. Now I actually know what you were trying to say. So
Yeah, this story that I'm about to share right now is going to speak to being too communicative.
That's fair.
Once again, a long time ago, this is actually, I think, second year of college was when I met this girl. She will not be named because still good friends, but you know,
There's so many girls in college.
there's so many girls. That,
I do not know what
name.
story this one
Who are you
refers
thinking?
to.
Oh,
This kind of happened a couple times.
Of course,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Sorry,
yes.
I said her name.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I can
Later.
I can do that. It's later.
I thought you were talking.
Like, there were several. There were several.
That's not second year of college.
But for the sake of the audience, you know, female, obviously, it was actually my first time really, you know, being intentional, right? Pursuing a girl, vocalizing that to the boys, saying, hey, yo, this girl, she's something special, you know, and I want to get to know her more. But, you know, I took her on date 1, and the fact that she said yes was like, okay, this is going in the right direction. Not to mention that it took forever even to get to that point of getting that date set up, and how much of that was a hassle and a back and forth and late night conversations we had regarding trying to set that up. But it happened. And so when it did happen, I remember taking her to coffee at a coffee shop not too far. I don't know. I didn't even think I had my car at that time. So I think she drove me. That's kind of awkward.
Not that bad.
sophomore.
It's not
You
that
do
bad.
what you do.
Not
You know,
ideal, but it happens. It happens.
But so basically, she takes me to the coffee shop, feeling less of a man there. But you know, I'm like, maybe I can redeem this in the conversation. And so you know, here I am. And I mind you, at this point in my life, I was like, I want to be the most transparent person in the world. I want to be a very open book, like got nothing to hide, because I've heard too many stories at this time, like where people go into marriages and they don't disclose things that they've been through or have gone through prior, and then it all comes up in the marriage or in the relationship, and then it's just and it's just a mess. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, you know, if I go into a relationship, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let the person know everything about me, what I've been through, what I've struggled with. Oh no! Long story short, for the ladies and gentlemen in the chat, never ever do that. There's this thing as too much information. TMI. I learned that day.
I would say only for certain people. Maybe with the right person.
Maybe with the right person.
But it needs to be in the right mentality at that moment.
That's true.
That's
There's
true.
a time and place for everything.
I had a really good friend, a mentor of mine, tell me this. She said, she heard this from another person. She's like, 100% agree with it. On a first date, you only give 5% of who you are.
Yeah.
And the reason why you do this is because you're not doing it because you don't trust them. You're doing it for you. To recognize it's supposed to be a developing relationship.
Yeah.
If you give everything at the once, there's nothing more to develop.
That's a good point. That's a good point, bro.
You can't. It's not like you give them an index or like a book and you go, oh, this is my. It's not like a class itinerary, right? Like, oh, we're gonna go through all these topics. No, that's not how relationships work.
That's
They're
good.
organic.
Good analogy too. Yeah.
How horrible that would be if that was the way it was. Because you could read my whole life story.
This is my syllabus.
I don't really
Isaac.
like that guy's life story. I'd rather have someone who has a better life story.
He's like choosing classes in college.
Yo,
I want this one. I want
it's
this one.
beneficial for one, disadvantageous to the other person.
Exactly.
I guess I get that, but you know, to kind of wrap up the story and make the point, which is like, you know, in my case, the vulnerability aspect, which I don't think there's nothing innately wrong with it, but like you just said, Brian, like I think there's a time and a context, and like you said, I think it's developing. Especially, I knew her pretty well from the friend group. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought people were coming in and out here. I knew her well from the friend group. And so I thought that that level of friendship and pedigree was there naturally. So I think that's also was kind of what was playing into it. But in reality, at the same time, she isn't someone that I was necessarily that close with. I knew her in the context of our friendships that we've had, going swing dancing on the weekends, right, and whatnot. Yeah. But it wasn't anything really deeper than that, right? And so I still had to humble myself and understand that I got to know that regardless, if I'm getting into a relationship, if I've known them a while, friendship, if I've already disclosed this to them in the friendship, it's a different story. I hadn't done that, and so I still need to treat her as if she's some girl I'm just meeting for the first time, and I'm still getting to know and understand. And that was kind of circumstance I had to walk into. And so basically, long story short, I did that. Luckily enough, she was still willing to give me the second date. I passed. But I think there was even stuff she was going through even. So, you know, that kind of prevented that from going further. But, you know, long story short, when it comes to, you know, to bring it back to the whole aspect of, we're talking about what relation. See, no, I just brain farted. But we're talking about like the progression of like relationships, like progression of like, you know, what you need to do to put yourself in that circumstance. You know, obviously I was intentional about putting myself in that circumstance with her. But, you know, again, knowing that with us we have a purpose and we have a reason why we do it, right?
Yeah.
But find that balance once again of not, sometimes over pushing it and taking it in stages, right?
Yeah.
When I meet you, I get to know you.
I would also
And learn.
say
Yeah.
expectations on why you're being friends or why you're dating someone is really something I feel like can really destroy relationships. And if this is like one thing, like you're saying, oh yeah, I knew this girl for a long time. There was no expectation of me liking her at the time.
Yeah.
And then I revealed that. I feel like that was a really helpful way of doing it. But it's interesting how even with girls that I'm just friends with, making sure you set that boundary of an expectation of like, I'm not interested in you is helpful for them. And I think it's helpful for just anyone in general, like just with friends, like, hey, this is my expectation. And you don't have to like dump it out on them, of course, but you can just sort of imply those things to them over time. And if they don't get it, then you have a conversation, of course, because you don't want to leave them hanging. But I would say the biggest thing there is like when you start dating someone, like I've dated a couple of people I've known for a long time. Even then, I would use the 5% rule that my mentor gave me, and just basically say, they have their own life. They don't need to deal with all my baggage yet.
Yeah.
I'm not marrying them yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to know them and they're trying to get to know me. And especially for me, like I'm a dude that processes stuff incredibly fast. A lot of my friends do not process stuff fast at all. So imagine just dumping a bunch of baggage on someone's head and they're like trying to work through this for like months.
Michael, you got something to say? Hold on.
Go for
I'm
it.
just loving how you're putting it.
I'm just saying.
Where's that line though? Let's stop there because this is gonna be a really good question right here. Where is that line between you're getting to know them and where you're like, hey, I want to date? What does that look like? I think that's the hardest question when we talk about actually going through that experience because you're getting to know them, right? But then there's a certain point where you got to lay down like, hey, I'm intentionally doing this now. I've gotten to know you and you've gotten to know me. Now, like, I'm looking towards marriage now. What can we do to progress us in those steps there? Because what we don't want is to perpetually be in the dating phase forever, which is very common in the Western culture, which is we're dating to the point where, you have people who just live together because, what's the point of marriage, right? So you don't want to be in that state of dating even too long in and of itself. So where's that line between when you're just getting to know them to where you got to kind of make it clear, we're not married yet, but we are starting to make this trek towards that.
That's a super.
I kind of think, especially after like the 5th date, you kind of need to be, not like you need to be set on marrying. No, just like much more intentional of, hey, like I'm only dating you.
Yeah.
I do want to make sure I'm not wasting my time here.
There you go.
I don't know. I guess I kind of flip that in my head. It's like I don't want to waste their time. That's how I kind of think about it.
Oh, no. I'm selfish. I'm only concerned about myself.
Either or. I mean, it's for the benefit of either or. So it's like, okay, how do you put it?
I mean, yeah.
Depends who you're talking
It's
to.
part of the conversation, right? To figure out where everyone's at.
Yeah.
So I don't. Learning how to do that is hard, and I would say honestly, I'm working on it. I don't understand it.
What do you think it looks like? Michael?
I would think that, so the concept of knowing when dating needs to transfer into something more serious.
More, and serious. Yeah.
Spouse. It would have to do with, not necessarily that anyone has to be at their end goal with occupation or whatever, and spiritually, but knowing that they have the tools to get there, I guess. Knowing that they know what they need to be doing to grow more spiritually and that they have a willingness to do it, and motivation with their occupation instead of just, perhaps they got a great job and that's fine, maybe they're in that goal, but knowing their heart and where they're at with going for it.
Yeah.
That's what I would see.
Dating them for who as they are, not for who they might be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got
That's
that.
good.
I got that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nathan, out here dazing off.
What was the question?
So, what does that line look like between getting to know the person and then seriously, intentionally dating them? And what does that look like? And even more so, to make it even easier for you, put yourself in that shoes. When you get to the point where you've gotten to know the girl enough, what are the steps that you would take? What would you tell or do, to that significant person that you are focusing on at the time to progress the relationship to something more serious?
You would have a conversation.
Okay. What would that conversation entail?
Let's say that you go on 2 or 3 dates. you like this person. You're not going to know if you want to marry them until you actually get into a relationship with them. You're not going to know after the third date, oh, I'm going to go down on one knee and say, will you marry me? You're going to say, I think I want to know you more. Let's go be in a relationship.
Okay.
That's fair.
And so after 2 or 3 dates, that's the testing the waters phase. You're not going to know somebody after 2 or 3 dates. You're just going to know their superficial value of what they want you to see.
So that's when the Facebook status changes to in a relationship.
To be fair, once you change the Facebook status, that's when you know you want to get married.
It's official.
Wait, you still use Facebook?
Surprisingly, yes.
He's older than us, remember?
Oh man.
He plays on
Also,
Square.
For us, it's like
was it
Snapchat.
Squarespace or whatever it is. MySpace. Squarespace is
still,
not that.
Still on MySpace, man. Man,
what was it?
Kick.
That
Where
farm
was it?
game that you could play on Facebook? That was
Farmville?
Yeah, there we
Farmville.
go. That's,
Yo, classic.
I remember you
Classic.
talking about that.
Yeah, but honestly, once you are ready to have a deeper conversation about where you are in your relationship, that's where you define it.
It's good.
Where both sides acknowledge the fact that they like each other enough to actually pursue that relationship. That's where you get it.
It's good. That's good. Ryan, elder.
Thanks a lot for pointing that out. This is not. Yes, I'm so old, and I have no more additional.
But there's
wisdom.
respect. No, it's all respect.
But
It's all respect.
the aspect of some of the things that you guys have pointed out, I think you can intermingle and mix and shift those a little bit depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Just coming from my personal experiences and perspectives, there's people that are not ready to whatsoever to take that jump. Some people do just want to have they seek the feelings and the emotions rather than the practicality. But there are a few people that you can bump into that are ready for that step. And so if you're ready for that step, it's not so much, okay, on such and such number date, I was getting to know them. It's more of like, no, let's get to know the nitty gritty you very quickly. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, not very quickly in the sense of all on the first date, but
Not me.
But you're just, hey, let's start these. Okay, hey, what do you feel about this, and what do you feel about this, and religiously, where you are on this matter, and where are you at in this part of your life, and
Yeah.
so those questions can start pretty quickly, and those would be maybe questions you guys are deeming as the ones that you'd want to be knowing about that person before you get married. Those are ones that you can, start implementing if it's with the person that also is intentional, as you guys have mentioned, intentionally knowing that's the purpose and the end goal between our relationship is to date or to get married is what I meant to say. So if you both are on that same, hey, we're getting to know each other for the purpose of, are you a potential marriage partner? Then you at least you guys are both on that same level playing field of understanding what the intent and purpose was in the first place of why you're asking all these kinds of questions.
It's good.
So I think that, bringing back all of your guys' points, it's just being intentional, being upfront and clear with your intentions is the biggest key to not having conflict and issues later.
Yeah, and not worrying about bringing up things that are important to you and actually voicing. I know we talked about communication, but like one big one for me was I want to have kids, and I almost dated a girl once, and she told me at the end, like, yeah, I'm not wanting kids ever. And I was like, then that's the deal breaker.
Well, that's
for me.
yeah.
And we're still like we can hang out, but it's like
It's not.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to pursue her any longer.
Yeah.
I'm going to respect her and honor her as God wants me to honor people, but I'm not going to say I'm going to fake this, like you said, the feelings
Yeah.
and keep going with this if there's no way this is ever going to work.
No, that's so good. I think there's a peace of mind element to all of this too. It's like, and like I said, we don't want to waste each other's time. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, and I'll keep saying that. I'll stand 10 toes on that. Like, there's no point in wasting someone else's time and then wasting my time. Not to make that seem, I know it sounds bad, but God has someone in store for people. It has, if you're looking for a relationship and you're seeking God, He has someone for you, right? And so what you're doing, if the ideal circumstances, it's both people who believe in God and they're trying to pursue God together, and they want to get into a relationship, but there's a disagreement to where it's just not going to work out. Like you're taking, in my perspective, like the time of someone God has for someone else, for that husband, that wife, that lady could have, vice versa. That woman is taking me away from my wife, my future wife. So it's like don't waste time. Don't prolong things any longer than they have to be. Why are you looking in that direction? Just like so stark.
I can see
I was
it
looking at you.
Oh, okay. You see what
You, but were you looking at him too, or Dustin?
I'm like.
I was looking at Dustin.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Just stare at the camera. It's like the Elmo meme.
Yeah, 100%.
You're the wee
Elmo's world. But
Ambulance world.
that being said, but at the same time, not, and this is where I think is very something to be raw and honest about too, because there's emotions. When we get into relationships, sometimes we can forsake the emotional aspect that goes into it as well. Like there is a period when I get to know somebody, you know, the heart might flutter a bit, the butterflies in the stomach might, you know, be turning because you're like, you're emotionally getting invested. I think as you grow older, and sometimes you're more reflective. In my case, I'm going to speak for myself. Like I've learned not to get so emotional so quickly. Obviously, being burnt a couple times, you know, not to get super emotional invested really quickly. But you know, knowing when things aren't going well and it has to be cut off, not in a friendship sense, like you said, you can still be friends. I'm still friends with the people who I've been burnt by. Not to say you know they were wrong in how they burnt me. It's just unfortunate circumstances, right? And so, but knowing that okay, that was a season. Let's keep moving. That was a moment. Let's keep moving, right? And on to the next. And funny enough, one of my guests, you know, before the podcast started, she has some know about, you know, maybe someone I was potentially interested in. And, you know, when she brought it up, she was like, Kumi, how you go about like someone bring it up? Because normally the expectation is like, you're like, oh yeah, like I like her, and like, oh, she's like so awesome, and like she's so amazing. Like you like her too? Like you expect to be all giddy, and to be like, yeah, you know, I want to get to know her more. I told her straight up, I was like, I'm in the phase right now where I just want to get to know her more. And if I continue to enjoy my time with her and, you know, vice versa, right, then I'll start to slowly, like, really put more emotional investment into it. But this isn't high school. Like, this isn't middle school. So, like I said, with age, with maturity, with growth, you sit here and, like, I'm not saying look at it without emotion, right, in a relation without emotion, but understand that you don't have to let your emotions guide you. Use your head. Understand like, okay, why am I getting into this? What is am I growing in this opportunity that I'm looking to, you know, engage with this person and develop this person with the relationship? Is it beneficial, right? And then because I found people who are in relationship situations where it's not beneficial to them, and they know that. That's the sad part. But because they're emotionally attached, or the emotions of just being in a relationship, they're still hanging on there. They're making excuses, this and the such, until it gets so bad to where it's like, okay, now you cut it off, and you're like, I should have done that like 6 months ago. Yeah. But it speaks to a real thing where emotion is like, it's a heck of a drug. I will say. But when you learn to, when we talk about, you know, the Holy Spirit, we talk about, you know, God's leading and guiding of us. Part of that is self-control. So being able to be conscious and understand the boundaries of not getting too far in things, and then also understanding that, you know, an emotion is temporary. It's not long lasting. Yeah. So being conscious enough to acknowledge that these lovey-dovey feelings, you know, it's like when you get married, the honeymoon phase, woo, we're having fun, but then the rest of your life, you know, is going to be full with its ups and downs, its hills and its valleys. But you know, it's really finding, you know, that balance of like, you know, when you get into a relationship, don't get super emotionally invested, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then whenever you do, still keep in proportion to, okay, I'm doing this with the mentality that I want to make this one my wife and to honor God. I think God becomes that weighing factor in all of this of like keeping us really stable, right?
Yeah, I know not everyone likes to quote Song of Solomon, but in the Song of Solomon it talks about enjoying the wife of your youth. But it also talks about in other Bible, which in the Bible it says, you know, beauty is fleeting, you know.
It's true.
It's like these things we can enjoy. God didn't say we shouldn't enjoy those things, but He also said recognize what is actually valuable.
It's good.
What is actually important.
It's good.
In life. Like you were saying.
And loyalty, commitment. You know, someone who will be there when it does get hard and is willing to work with you to towards the same goals. You don't want to have someone have constant antithesis against the same goals.
And to almost be on a broken record, because everyone's probably heard it, you know, Proverbs 31, nowhere in it talks about beauty. At all.
She's not a hottie?
He doesn't talk about it, yeah. And it says it's a good, a man who finds a good wife is a good thing, period.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Solomon only selected The best of the best.
Solomon.
The creme de la creme, right?
It does.
Just because you're wise does not mean you make good decisions.
Exactly, that's true. Just because you have
like a
to.
donkey.
We're cutting that out.
That's biblical.
It is,
It's
but
Bible, yeah. That's,
I missed that.
there's a lot of biblical things that we should not put in
Hey.
this podcast.
Hey, honestly, if you're watching this to the viewership, read the Bible, man. There's so many great stories. So many great stories. Just from a story aspect, you know, you just like, you will never be. I'm still reading through books of the Bible again and again every year. And it's like, man, I forget that this story was in here, man.
It's not just stories; it's guidance towards how you should live your life.
Exactly. And then
that's
when
key.
you come to believe and accept that, and so I'm more so speaking to the non-believer audience that this might reach, you know, here or there, right? You know, like when you read it and you're like, man, this is wild, this is crazy. When you accept it and believe it, and you understand like the levels and depths of like, you know, teachings and what's the word I'm looking for? Levels of like just wisdom that comes from these stories, and it's man.
Examples on not to make the same mistake.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You look back and you're like, man, he did that, but I'm still making that same mistake. It's just beautiful. It sounds a beautiful thing. God is good, man. And so, honestly, we are at the time limit, and so this was a great conversation. We'll definitely do this again at some point when the boys reconvene, when the Avengers assemble. But no, this is a really great conversation, and I'm just, you know, thankful for every single person on this pod because they've been a part of this life journey, this journey that we call life. And they've seen a lot of things, but you know, I think, you know, part of my faith journey and where I am today is because of these guys. And so I value their opinions, I value their perspectives 100%, and you know, we gonna keep doing our thing. I think we got swing dancing tonight too, so we're gonna definitely continue doing our thing.
He wants you to cut that out.
To cut,
It's awkward.
it's awkward.
Don't give him too much, right?
Don't give him too much.
The audience, you know, you gotta bring it up in like the 5th podcast.
The Fit Podcast.
I'm just saying.
Sure, whatever. We'll discuss what's cut out and what's not cut out later. But for the viewership, thank you for watching. You know the drill. Hop down in the comments. Let us know what your disagreements are, the things you took out of it, but also the insight you probably got from this and maybe got your gears turning. Love to hear it. Subscribe on the way down, and we'll see you next time.